TWM podcast.
Hello and welcome to the War Room as we look over this week's battle plans in the Wednesday Night War. NXT versus All Elite Wrestling. Who wins as we are a month into the conflict, if you will. I'm not George Gill. I'm Matty Della, because we've had to switch some stuff around because I'm not about this weekend. So George couldn't record early, so I'm here. And also we've got a different co-host. Normally it's George and Josh arguing the toss over the Wednesday night on a Thursday. But this week I am joined by my co-host on the Indie Wrestling Show. He's taken a delve into a little bit of WWE and a whole lot of AEW. It's Mike Mears.
Yeah, just to let everybody know, I have not signed any exclusive deals to be on the show. I am staying fully independent.
Yeah, he's just. This is basically what we're.
I'm like Jamie Hayter.
Yeah,
one off, but that's it.
You're a shouty person like Jamie Hayter. This is a TWM podcast that brings you your daily dose of wrestling news, reviews and interviews. Available on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Acast, TuneIn, YouTube, Podbean and wherever else you get your pods, in association with Squared Circle Box is what we are, if I say it in a Yoda fashion. 10% off your first order at squaredcirclebox.com by using the code TWMNews. You can go get your November crate right now by using the code TWMNews and get 10% off in the checkout for your first order. Right, the first thing I want to ask before we kind of jump straight into the meat of the matter is, I know me and you have spoken about it, you do watch AEW on a weekly basis. Have you been keeping up with NXT as well, or is this kind of your first delving into the 2-hour NXT era?
I haven't seen the last 2 weeks, but not including this week, of course. I saw the first 3 weeks, so the 2 weeks unopposed, and then the 1 week that they did against the debut of Dynamite. But beyond that, I just haven't had the time to watch the last 2 weeks. But
so based on that, so you've basically had 1 week where you've watched them head to head. In your opinion, what one, before we watch this week's, what did you prefer out of the two shows?
I prefer Dynamite, personally.
Interesting, very interesting, because I've been saying that I think last week was the first week that AEW for me was the better show out of the two. I preferred NXT almost across the board. So this will be interesting to see if your opinion changes over last night's shows. But without further ado, let's delve right into it. Let's start off with NXT. A huge shock to close out NXT as Finn Balor attacked Johnny Gargano, leaving Tommaso Ciampa to the Wolves. He then punctuated with a brutal dropkick and then a bloody Sunday on the ramp to Johnny Wrestling. Now, it's great that we've got the two resident indie nerds covering this week, because we can say this. We've
covering the super indies.
Yeah, covering the two super indies, because we can say this. It looks like we're getting rock and roller in NXT.
Finn hit the Pele kick and no word of light instantly. My arm shot out straight. I raised my index finger, my thumb went up, and I was pulling the trigger.
I did like that. Yeah. I like the bit at the end where they're all doing the sign and Cole's clear like, "You're joining us?" And he's like, "Nope." Finger guns. Pew pew. But I thought this...
But he didn't actually do the trigger.
No, he didn't.
Bullet Club. So he left himself enough of not fully being the rock and roller.
It's great because they brought Finn back to NXT, which was a fresh start as is, but making him, we'll say heel for now, but I'll get into what my thoughts on it in a minute. But making him not 100% good guy gives him a complete clean slate and also gives you a whole new scope for Balor. It's just the key thing is, Mike, can Finn Balor do heel without swearing?
Yeah, I think he can. He's been in that system long enough to have adapted well enough. And you look at when he joined WWE, he obviously had a lot of support from Triple H, and he will get that again going forward with being the bad guy without swearing. And that's even if he is, because I kind of think maybe he's not necessarily the bad guy, he's just the self-motivated guy. Because
this was my point I was going to make, because I imagine a lot of people... I've managed to avoid Twitter, because I watched about half of AEW live, fell asleep, watched the second half this morning, and then watched NXT. And then we recorded straight away, because we've had to record this about 11:30 in the morning, because we've got places to go, people to see, and all that stuff. Boring adult life stuff. And I've not seen on Twitter if everyone's like, oh my god, he's going to join the Undisputed Era. He's not. He's chaotic neutral. He's the Maverick. But the key point is, didn't touch Ciampa. He doesn't care about Ciampa. He's not bothered about the NXT title right now. He just told Adam Cole he's in NXT, almost giving Undisputed Era a warning shot, saying, "You're the bad guys here. You're the other guys in charge, but I'm also about." But the key point is, he went after Gargano because the story writes itself. He's Mr. NXT, not Johnny Gargano. Yeah. That's the storyline they're writing here.
And Gargano only became Mr. NXT because Balor wasn't there. Yeah,
so it writes itself. I don't believe that. It was almost seeing the forest for the trees, or whatever that phrase is. The fact that I did not clock they could. I was like, well, Gargano's doing nothing. Why did they not put them together rather than? I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense to have basically the war of who is Mr. NXT between Gargano and Balor.
Can we technically say the prince has returned to take his crown?
Yes, but it's a much better analogy than me. It's like you're like Marinello's son. It splits off Balor and Gargano and Cole and Ciampa, so now you've got two big feuds, and also it leaves scope for potentially a women's War Games match, maybe, possibly. One thing I want to say, two little bits from this. It was a great segment. It's like 6 minutes they managed to fit so much stuff in. Actually, three things. First of all, that shotgun drop kick on the outside.
That was brutal, wasn't it?
Good lord. I love that Finn's gone, well, I'm heel now. I need to put a little bit extra stank on this. But
they get that little bit more hang time, it's fine.
They have done that a lot in NXT, the whole plants in the front row so the person can fly.
Oh, yeah, that was blatantly obvious, wasn't it?
They've done it like about twice in 4 weeks now. I never want to hear Marinello shout out Daddy's home ever again. That was...
I fully agree.
Unsettling. What I do want to hear is the woman screaming as loud as possible, "Go to hell, Finn."
Well, she was all about Johnny wrestling, I guess.
It's still real to her, damn it. It's just brilliant. But the reaction was brilliant because you could watch it because of the small thing. You could watch the reaction and everyone cheering and then hitting the kick, and literally you saw about 200 people all put their hands on their heads with their mouths open. It's like, oh my god! And good heel turns always take the air out of the room, and that took the air out of the room, which was great.
I couldn't agree more.
Before that, we had the small matter of an NXT North American Championship match as Roderick Strong snuck out still, the champ, picking up the scraps in a triple threat match against Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic. Let's talk about Roddy before we get into the match first. He's such a shitty little heel. He's so good.
Shitty little boot, shitty little heel.
Yeah, because I remember seeing him with PWG, and a lot of people kind of rag on Roddy for being quite one-dimensional, but he really showed how good of a heel he can be in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and they're letting him do that in NXT, of how good of just a little shithouse he is.
Yeah, they're the best sort of heels, though. I think everybody forgets that absolute shithouse heel, which, weirdly enough, is probably the biggest heel in New Japan in Jay White.
Yeah. And
so over because of it.
And Adam Cole's a shithouse heel, but he's more of kind of he's like a confident shit-ass heel because he knows he can get it done, but he chooses not to. Whereas Roddy gets himself in situations where he's going to be on the losing end and has to use shithousery to get his own way. Do
you think Adam Cole's only so confident there because he hasn't got people calling him fat?
Yes, not back to it. He's not. Excalibur's a long way away now, so it's not happening. I did like the story of Dijakovic and Lee swatting Roddy away to focus on each other. It worked well, and then obviously worked well into the end.
Yeah, there was a method to the madness where there was not such like a double team move, but Dijakovic, I think, dove onto Roddy on the outside, and then Keith Lee pounced him, and they just faced off.
That was a great
the
spot.
Bottom of the ramp, and then just went, no, we're going to fucking do this in the ring, because whichever one of us wins now between the two of us is going to be the champion. So it was like so much sense to everything they did, but also like the alpha male sort of thing in them still made them go, no, we're going to fight properly. It's
the dive, and then they grabbed him, and then he threw him into the feast your eyes, didn't he? And then the power. Yeah. So good, so good. Another bit that was good, that powerbomb vertical suplex. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was a big old boy. There was, I can't remember what move it was now, but there was a move off the top left hand corner there was, where they had the camera diagonally towards the corner, and it was perfect because somebody in the crowd had come. They were sat at the end of the aisle. They stood up out of their seat, stood in the aisle, and had their hands on their head, going, "Oh my god!" But it just added to the visual so much.
Was it the chokeslam from Dijakovic to Lee, or was it something different?
No, the chokeslam was the right hand side.
Oh, okay. I can't remember.
This was
it would have been the
far left.
It would have been the spirit bomb, wouldn't it, off the top?
Yeah, that's what it was. And it was just like this guy, like head, like hands on his head, were just beautiful.
I imagine you'll appreciate this. When they do the cutaways leading up to the main event, they do it almost as if they're in their fight camps with the flags up, which is very UFC.
They've kind of done that. They've done those cutscenes for quite a while, though, haven't they?
Yeah, but I like them having the flags up in the background, like it is like a boxing or an MMA fight. They've got their little their areas to get ready for the main. I do hope they start selling the flags though.
Well, it's easy money.
I really want the Pete Dunne one. It's a really, really cool flag. It was weird though. Did you notice it? It was like I don't know why it bothered me so much, but they kept having inserts where you'd see the person like preparing for the match, and then they'd have an insert of them talking, so they're both on the screen at the same time.
Yeah, that was a bit odd. I don't think I've ever seen that before. It's like, because surely you would just have them talking.
Yeah, it's like watching their inner monologue. It's like, we're now going to go into the thoughts of the person in the main event. Not like when they did with Jeff Hardy in TNA, when they had like the inner monologue of him talking about everyone in the ring.
Maybe this is what Tout was originally going to be used for, and it's able to contact the inner monologues of NXT wrestlers.
A Brit Rest would be more terrifying. Bring back Tout. I feel like you picked the right week to come back, because I imagine that this match, this sentence just filled you with joy as much as it did with me. Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai defeated Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, and they're going to go and face Asuka and Kairi Sane for the women's tag team titles next week. What a sentence to say in wrestling in 2019.
It definitely did pique my interest to come back next week and watch the show, because ridiculously anybody that listens to any other show that I've been on, and the concept, well, Tegan Nox coming up, it's not a little known fact that she's always been one of my favourite wrestlers to watch. But like, I hadn't even gone back to last week's episode to see her match, or anything at all. But seeing her and Dakota Kai sort of tagging, that was amazing. And then having that carrot dangled that they're going to face the Kabuki Warriors next week, I was just like, no, I'm down with this. I was pretty certain. I thought about it. I was like, well, they're obviously going to win, because they're not going to do heel versus heel tag team for the titles. But yeah, like, what a match. It's
going to be great. Like, obviously, with Tegan, with you and a bunch of the other guys, kind of part of that Welsh wrestling conglomerate, if you will. And it's awesome to see her coming back and doing so well. Same with Dakota. Like, Dakota is a lovely human being, so it's really, really great. They kept it short as well, which kind of helps Jessamine and Marina, but they're not, like, I know George, because breaking kayfabe here, I'm the producer of their show, so I record their show as they're doing it, and he does not like Jessamine and Marina. I don't think they're that bad.
One of the things I think a lot of people miss is they actually do have really good chemistry together as a tag team, but that's because they are legitimate best friends, and have probably been best, like, really, like, at least really, really good friends, longer than like Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai have, which is something like they made the point of bringing up like Nox and Kai's friendship for like their team. I was like, yeah, but like, if you know like where Jessamine and Marina and Rhonda and Shayna sort of like met and how they came through, then you would know they've known each other for probably close to a decade now. They all lived together at one point. So
yeah, because Shayna and Marina and Jessamine are the reason Rhonda got into WWE, got into wrestling. Yeah, because they showed her. I think the Shield might have been the Shield breakup. There's a video of Rhonda like proper losing her mind at the Shield breaking up, which is really funny.
Shayna was always the big fan and got the rest from watching it when they lived together.
Yeah. For me, out of the two, I'm a really big fan of Jessamine Duke, because I feel like the way she acts, she just had like something that's very, very rare in the women's brand of wrestling. I know it's kind of all together, but with women wrestlers, is that monster heel vibe. It's very rare to get one of them, and she had that as that big, scary wrestler.
She's got that unique sort of size aspect to her that you normally only see that from like an Awesome Kong, Bull Nakano, sort of like that sort of type of wrestler. That got that size, and she's got the height. She's not stocky, but she's got the size. She's got it's dominating in that regard.
I was gonna say, like, if she, not saying that she needs to, but if she were to like put on some muscle mass, she'd be fucking like legit like a big like Lesnar-esque giant like monster female. And I think it would work really, really well. Another one who's kind of one of those rare ones that has that big monster vibe is Rhea Ripley, and her or Bianca Belair. I know it had interference from Io Shirai and Candice LeRae, which is basically, I imagine, building to my idea, which was actually no. This might not have been a 4-way. They have something else maybe at War Games, but because I had the idea of the 3-team War Games, which was LeRae, Tegan Nox, and Dakota against the 3 out of the 4 horsewomen against Io, Kyrie, and Asuka.
Yeah, maybe.
Which would be really good. But maybe they're now going to do the 4 for the actually, no, maybe I don't know what they're going to do, because obviously these are four women that are fighting around the title. But my point was, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair is going to main event a pay-per-view one day, if not main event a WrestleMania, because they have some next level chemistry.
Yeah, like, and it was really good. Like, straight off the bat, Mauro mentioned how it was like Bianca's technical abilities versus like Rhea's brute strength, so to speak, and they just click so much. And it's I was thinking about it while watching the match, and how I remember Rhea Ripley in the first Mae Young Classic, and she was like just such like, she was almost like that girl next door. She was
I always said that she was she was like a knockoff Toni Storm, like a young Toni Storm.
Or Toni Storm that stayed in Australia.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and she's genuinely just not only technically developed, but physically developed into like a monster, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like, and it just looks amazing for it. Like, it just, in every aspect of her character.
Because I remember, like, she started off, and I remember saying, like, oh, she's like young Toni. No, when Toni Storm first came over to England, and she was kind of basically Australia, the like blonde Australia girl.
Cause Australia.
And then Toni Storm really found her niche as kind of the 80s rock and roll thing. And then what Rhea's done is found her niche as... First off, she was basically doing, oh, I'm training with Pete Dunne. I'm going to do a lot of stuff that Pete Dunne does. But she's now found her niche and works really well. And she's going to be a massive deal, as is Bianca Belair. But they've got Io and Candice in there as well. So maybe we're going to have a combo of all of these guys in some sort of War Games war thing.
I kind of feel like this match was almost like Mauro was there on commentary, so I'm surprised he didn't come out with it, but it was like styles make fights.
Yeah.
And like they mesh together so well.
They really, really do. And there were some really great matches on NXT. Riddle versus Cameron Grimes.
The opening sort of 30 seconds were fantastic.
I just love this.
I just love those little things.
Such a good match between these two. Riddle, right? Cameron Grimes they're doing really, really well at putting him over. Like, he's won a lot of matches in like 30 seconds flat.
Yeah.
With the double stomp. I can't remember, they're giving it a name now, but the double stomp. And then him against Riddle was just really, really good. And then also, they then had Tyler Bate in the crowd, and he knocked Cameron Grimes out. And they're gonna have a match next week. So maybe Bate's now going to be heading over to the US brand along with Pete Dunne.
Yes, the Brit Rest. Tyler's dad needs him.
He's an absolute madman as well, because I realised he was on NXT last night. He's going to be in Ireland for OTT on Saturday.
He's probably going to be at Fight Club tomorrow in Wolverhampton.
Yeah, it'll be knocking about there, but then he's got to fly back next Wednesday for NXT. I'm also imagining, because I know, I think Peter and his family have now like made residence in LA, or at least got
Pete's there like at least semi-permanent.
Yeah, I'm now imagining a hilarious sitcom where Tyler Bate has moved in with the Pete Dunne family.
Because everyone loves Tyler.
It's brilliant. I also still love Riddle needling Goldberg for the jackhammer. It's so unnecessary now.
But it's now a thing, so he's just got to take the piss.
Yeah, because they're making his gimmick that he's a controversial athlete and he keeps trolling people. I love it. It's so funny. Another banger in a match: Isaiah Scott and Breezango over the Forgotten Sons. This was, and I don't like the Forgotten Sons, but this match was really good.
I think Forgotten Sons have actually got a lot of upside that a lot of people just gloss over because they're like, oh, they're just angry bad guys. It's like, but that's kind of like you know how it's that classic thing where it's like, I fucking hate that bad guy, and they're like, so you just think, well, obviously they're really good at what they do, and I kind of feel like these guys are. They don't get like that go away heat or anything like that. You know, it's legitimately like, oh, they just fuck off. They're like TV characters that are just so annoying and always just fucking annoy you.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm still running hot and cold on them. They had a great match here. Like I said, I was a big fan of this. I liked, obviously, because the normal team has been Breezango and Kushida, and actually it's been quite funny with Kushida with Breezango, and also Breezango just going through all of their trying any occupational gimmick in NXT at this point. I
was very confused with their entrance. I'm like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah,
have they got like somebody doing a pilot gimmick?
They've been because a few weeks ago they were construction workers.
Because of course they were.
And now they're pilots, and they've been doing this thing where Fandango's clearly just being really inappropriate with Beth Phoenix, where Beth Phoenix doesn't get it. He's like, yeah, you got to hold on to the landing stick and you got to go hard. And it was just like, oh, Beth.
But like Nigel's response was like, saying that she should just do limbo all the time because everything goes over her head. Yeah,
actually, I will say, Beth and Nigel and Mara have really got a good dynamic going. And Nigel and Beth are really funny when they're going back and forth. This was a really, really good match. Isaiah Scott got a tremendous focus and got the win, so I'm really happy for old Swerve. I've been binge watching his podcast on YouTube, and it's really, really good.
He looked fantastic, and obviously, like, we were both huge fans. Anytime we would see Shane Strickland wrestle before, you know, he morphed into Isaiah Scott, I was just really, really happy because this is the first time I'd seen him on NXT. Yeah, that he'd entered the ring, went up to the corner, and still did the fist on the head and up.
Yeah, I will say that he's the name might have changed apart from the Swerve bit, but he's still Swerve. Everything's exactly the same. It's just his song isn't as much as a banger as it was on the indies, but you can't always get what you want.
If his song was a person, it ain't nobody.
Killian Dane menacingly wrapped his broken fingers near a bin. Because they're doing.
I mean, are you telling me that? I'm reading between the lines here. Can I guarantee that Pete Dunne has broken his fingers and he's still selling them like weeks later? Yeah,
because apparently everyone else is fine a day later.
How does Killian Dane not know this like magical technique to healing your fingers? Even Ring of Honor wrestlers know it.
Yeah, it's just leave them. They'll be fine in a few hours. But he's just sitting there. First of all, this made him look like he was homeless because he's sitting by a fiery bin wrapping his fingers. I'm like, don't make Killian Dane like does he not know there's heating in the building?
Does he not know he lives in Florida?
Yeah, it's warm. You don't need to be by a flaming bin. Silly Killian Dane. We also got Angel Garza over Jack Gallagher in a cruiserweight contest as Leo Rush watches on commentary. And my one little slight thing, Leo Rush, I love Leo Rush. Leo Rush is great. Leo Rush as a heel is tremendous. As a face,
no.
Maybe don't let him talk because he was a little bit stunted and a little bit and Ari on commentary, and I text Joe because me and Joe always talk about how much we love Leo Rush. Great in the ring, amazing in the ring. Like, he's going to be a star regardless. But if you're going to have him be a face, you don't have him talk. And if you do, it's pre-taped, or you let him keep his heel stuff of him because his personality is annoying anyway. So if you make him talk, he's going to be an annoying face, which means he gets go away heat rather than him being a heel. So if he's a face, you just don't have him talk. But little side
accentuate the positives, dull down the negatives.
Indeed. I really like this NXT. I thought it was fantastic. Let's see if AEW Dynamite can live up to this one. This podcast, and indeed all TWM podcasts, are brought to you by SquaredCircleBox.com, the only place for your monthly wrestling box needs. With things from superstars from WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, British wrestling, independent wrestling, and loads more. It is the only place that matters if you want to get the best wrestling swag for a low, low price. That low, low price is just £25, people. What a bargain! And you can get snapbacks, t-shirts, magazines, DVDs, trinkets, whatchamacallit, doodads, you name it, they have it each and every month. And just because you listen to TWM, you sexy, sexy people, you get 10% of your first order. All you got to do is use the code TWM News in the checkout. Just use the code TWM News in the checkout for 10% off your first order at squaredcirclebox.com.
Why not spread? I said, why not spread the gospel of the TWM squad with some of our lovely merch over at Teespring? We have t-shirts for all shapes and sizes, hoodies, sweatshirts, mugs, stickers, and loads more. Also, just for listening to this podcast, you can get 10% off your order. I said use it. I said use using the code podcast. That's podcast. Once again, podcast in the checkout for 10% off at teespring.com/stores/TWM-wrestling-merch. That's right. Praise. Testify.
AEW Dynamite, the 4th edition of this show on TNT. I'm gonna. What did you? So did you really like this week of AEW?
I did. I did really like this week.
This one, it left me a little bit cold. So you can see where I'm going to go at the end of the show when we compare and contrast. And for spoilers, I thought there were some bits, but I found myself drifting off. Not even through being tired. I found myself drifting off a lot more in AEW than I did in NXT. NXT seems to be a bit more punchy, which is weird because AEW is all action. There's not a lot of inserts and interviews and stuff. So
see, I was genuinely the other way around, but I believe we both watched AEW first and then watched NXT.
Yeah, I did. I watched AEW first.
Yeah.
The big thing from this, Cody was meant to do a big announcement, but the Inner Circle interrupted and channeled their old inner CZW fan by signing off air horns. That was quite funny.
That was brilliant. And I like the fact that they did something different with this. They didn't just put them at ringside and go, "Oh my god, look at me! I got ringside tickets that somebody else is going to be sat in 3 minutes time." No, they had him in a box because that's what would happen. Jericho's the champion. This is like the elite stable. Sorry, that's a bad phrase to use in AEW, but this is like the top stable. And so obviously they're going to be in a box.
Yeah, I love that the only food they had up there was popcorn and a little bit of the bubbly.
There was a lot of the bubbly, I would say.
And they were firing off air horns, but then Dustin, MJF, and randomly DDP. That was a weird one. I assumed it'd be Hangman, but I guess Hangman's doing other things, so...
he's just doing horse things, wasn't he?
He's off doing horse things. He's off drawing pictures for Chuck Taylor, saying sorry about your dead birthday horse. Check that out on Twitter if you've not seen it. It's generally one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And then I love this, because MJF comes out and Jericho goes, "Oh, who wears a scarf?" That was funny.
You see the grin on Jericho's face when he said it as well.
And also, they're still doing this story now where MJF's almost become a face by accident because he's standing up for Cody, but he still hates everyone else.
Yeah, but I like the fact he's very much aware of this is happening. He's like, "No, I'm going to do stuff so people don't cheer me. I'm going to really be mean.
Yeah,
stop being nice to me."
Didn't he do the thing? Well, obviously, last week the thing that was off air where he shouted at that Orange Cassidy kid that pinned Cody. Yeah. And then didn't they have the thing where they had a match on AEW Dark and he made a face at Dustin, but then was being really nice to Cody as well.
I haven't seen this week's AEW Dark.
I found someone mentioned it on social media, but they are doing a thing where he's a dick to everyone except Cody because this is a story of no, he's legitimately Cody's friend. He just doesn't like anyone else.
To be fair though, it's what they've done the whole time on BTE.
Yeah, it is. I thought that what I did like about this is I did like MJF handing over his scarf to be well, punch through the window then.
Yeah, but that was amazing because it was it was the heels getting a degree of their comeuppance at this point as well.
Yeah, and also he didn't Goldberg himself by punching through a window. So,
but they were also smart enough to go, I know, what can we do with the window? In the same way that, so you know, they gimmicked the chair that Cody got hit with.
Yeah.
The fact that it wasn't actually the normal chair material on the bottom part. It was basically like a baking tray that, because of that, it bent so much and caught the back of Cody's head.
It was also pre-bent as well, wasn't it? So
yeah. But this, they obviously was they worked to a point of going, well, if we need to, we will get somebody in who will replace whatever pain is in this window so it can be punched in with no damage at all to Cody, and then they'll stick about for the show, and then they'll fix it after the show, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I think it was plastic. I think they put plexiglass in.
It did look like plastic of some sort, so it wouldn't shatter as such.
They did. It was a really nice brawl, but they have done a lot of they are doing this Attitude Era booking of a lot of brawls around. So why they are doing it a bit too much. I think it's been the fourth week they've had a brawl at some point in the show.
I enjoyed this brawl though. I just thought it was a lot of fun. The fact that I don't know if it's pure coincidence, but as they get to the top of the stairs into the concourse bit, there's a fan on crutches. So of course Jericho steals one of his crutches.
They do a lot of classic wrestling tropes. You can see, the one thing I've noticed from this is everyone compares it to the Monday Night War, but AEW is very WCW in the 90s-esque, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's PWG mixed with WCW, which I thought was a phrase I'd never say. We also had our two semi-finals in the Tag Team Championship tournament, where the Lucha Bros are going to face SCU in the final of the AEW Tag Team Championship tournament. Let's talk about Private Party versus the Lucha Bros. What a match!
Yeah, that is phenomenal. Literally, right off the bat, that they went into the show and going, they were just going to blow people's minds.
Yeah,
with this match, and it's so delivered. I didn't believe these. I thought they'd have a good match because Lucha Bros, have they ever had a bad match?
Not.
There
was the one against the Heart. There was the one against the Heart Foundation that was such a clusterfuck. It was brilliant. Remember that?
Oh, that was the live, yeah.
The live, pay-per-view one.
Wasn't it? Yeah. Christ.
I have there's a little bit of nitpicking, and this is the one thing with the Private Party need to work on a bit of their narrative stuff, rather than just moves. But again, that will come with experience. I wrote down, see the Young Bucks for further information.
It's the thing of, sometimes grab a hold and slow it down.
Yeah, they'll learn that.
They need to learn when to do that. Not necessarily just to do it in general, but it's when should we do it? When can we go? Instead of going for this crazy flip dive, let's just put them in the corner and let's stomp them out, and then just short couple of tags or something like that.
I will also say I would also say maybe not now, but in a year or two, a good heel turn will help them sort out their kind of their narrative in matches, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
But they're learning from the best. I mean, sit down with the Young Bucks and talk about learning a story. They learn through everyone moaning at them. They don't do stories, and now they're one of the better storytellers tag teams in the world.
Do you remember that story that Nick Jackson told when he had a bad back?
That lasted
which
for what?
He never actually had.
For 10 years.
Last 8 months. And that's what I mean. People are they don't tell any stories. They've been telling a story for a year and a half everywhere they've got.
I want to talk about they've been really putting over Ray Phoenix, and I do think he's almost become a bit Claude Makélélé-esque in being the point of everyone rates him on how underrated he is.
Yeah, Phoenix he's next level.
Oh, he's one of the best wrestlers.
He's unbelievable.
For me, he's top 5 best wrestler in the world right now, Ray Phoenix.
Do you know what? I'd arguably potentially say both him and Penta are.
We'll get to that obviously towards the end of this year, but he's definitely up there. Phoenix has been on another level this year. That double stomp on Mark Quinn, Jesus Christ.
The other thing as well with Phoenix at the moment, there is a number of injuries he's carrying, and he does not look like it.
I know, Jesus. If this is him injured, I don't want to see him when he's fully fit.
Exactly.
Also, he's learned he's not doing that flip dive towards the crowd anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe because he's not seen a relative, Antonio Pena, that he can kick now. Just aim. He's doing the thing. Do you know about Johnny Wilkinson back in the day would pit to when he did his penalty kicks and his drop goals, that he'd picture someone in the crowd that he's aiming for.
Yeah.
Do you reckon he's picturing the what was it, the sister or was it Sister Antonio Pena? He's picturing her.
Yeah, it was his sister, it was.
Picturing her as he's doing the flip type. If I hit this perfectly, I can kick her right in the face again. I'm going to do a bit of a South Park meme, mate. The Dark Order push, and it's gone.
Yeah, but it was they were never winning this tournament anyway.
Well, the thing is, they gave them the bye, and I reckon they were meant to at least get to the finals. I said it was going to be Dark Order against Private Party in the finals, so I was massively wrong.
There was a little part of me that thought maybe they've gone to give them the bye because of other commitments or visa-related issues or whatever.
But the crowd have just not taken to them. Like I feel like
definitely not.
It was a case of maybe I feel like their debut didn't really work. Maybe there should have been some vignettes beforehand to kind of build them up. They kind of just brought them in and let them beat people up, and then when a crowd just gets a "Who are you?" chant, I honestly do think maybe the Bucks or Cody or Omega, because the Super Smash Brothers were a really big deal in PWG, they assumed the AEW audience would immediately know who they are, and I feel like that fell a little bit flat.
They didn't really get they didn't have an established tag team to work with to get them over in the start, because that's like Best Friends aren't to the masses an established tag team, even realistically to like the PWG crowd. More recent fans that wouldn't know the Dark Order, or even as the Super Smash Brothers, they probably wouldn't really have a lot of familiarity with the Best Friends. It's
like it's when I think that they've been gone for a long time because they were not allowed to wrestle in the US due to visa problems. But the problem was, the really annoying thing is, in this match, Excalibur gave them a backstory, which would have been the perfect backstory to give them at the beginning. They were a big team on the independents. They disappeared for a few years, and they've come back and they've changed. And they're a darker force. Like, they should have done that from day dot, straight away.
Yeah, totally agree.
Which is a shame, because now I feel like they're going to be probably on a lot of darks, probably losing to, like, Sonny Kiss and Peter Avalon or some form or fashion.
Well, they need to find some way to build them back up. I
reckon they need
somebody like Private Party, who they have been building up.
I honestly, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, if they can find a way to make them Super Smash Brothers-esque and maybe bring them back as a face team or something, I don't know, because I don't know what to do. It's a real shame, because they are very, very good, but they're doing the Super Smash Brothers gimmick just as heels with different names. And also, when someone's called Evil Uno and the other person's called Stu Grayson, it doesn't really work. They both need kind of dark names if they're called the Dark. There's a lot of things there where it's kind of, it's there, but it's not quite there. And I feel like they got it out the oven too early, I feel, with the Dark Order.
Yeah, they just didn't establish them.
Or you could have had them easily. You could have had vignettes, and then have them attack the winner of the tag title tournament.
I agree on that, but I think Santana Ortiz beat the Young Bucks, and then they're next in line.
Yeah, you could do that, but I'm not sure. Also, I feel really bad for SCU and Dark Order. They got their heat completely taken away from the Inner Circle turning up. And it was a really good match as well. So,
yeah,
it's a shame.
Yeah, it was. But, like, with the past 2 weeks, though, they've made Scorpio Sky be a massive star.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
He was kind of like the forgotten man. He was the least known man in SCU, and now I kind of feel, if you ask, like, casual fans that have watched this show like with AEW, they'll probably say he'll probably be the first one they could tell you from the group. I've
seen it. I believe it might have been Old Man Dean and Kayla were both talking on Twitter, and they were like, "Who's been your biggest standout so far in AEW?" They're like, "Oh, Scorpio Sky. He's been amazing since they've started." Him and Phoenix have been the two. Yeah, him and Phoenix have been the two breakout stars of AEW so far. It's tremendous. John Moxley and Pac went to a TV time limit draw in a match that was brilliant. Love this match. So good.
And, like, one of the big things for me that they've been using is they're actually using the time limits.
Yeah, because the crowd got really into that time limit thing at the end, didn't they? They proper got into it. And it does work. Your time limits and having the win-loss records, all these little things that kind of fell to the wayside in you don't want to put blame in, like, the Russo era kind of time of wrestling. But it works. It all works.
Yeah, they make these wins and losses that actually matter. And the way that you could tell from, like, Moxley's reaction at the end of the show, he was like, I don't want to. You could see I was like, I don't want to draw on my record. I want the win.
Post match, they had some little bits and bobs between other bits that was off the air because obviously it ended with just Moxley looking annoyed. But there's some bits off air as well because I watched it on Fight. I
watched it on Fight as well.
Yeah, so you had like it finished. I think because you see the lower third, and then I think it cuts off for TNT, and then you had some little promo stuff between Hangman Page and Pac, I think, and Omega and Moxley.
Pac. Pac attacks Moxley after the match, puts a chair around Moxley's head while he's laid out on the floor. Omega comes out for the save. Omega takes the chair off Moxley's head. They sort of like square up as Hangman comes down. Pac like runs out to the sort of like in the crowd, and then he doesn't issue a challenge. He tells Pac that at Full Gear, it's going to be Pac and Hangman again.
Yeah, so they've got Cody and Jericho. They've got going to keep going LAX Inner Circle against the Young Bucks. You've got Moxley and Omega, and you've got Pac against Howard. It's probably the most stacked card they've had.
Yeah, it's very, very strong. But I think that's also come from everything's a lot more developed and established now, though, isn't it? So we've got investment in these people and understand who's who and whose motivations are who. I would imagine you're probably going to see Sammy Guevara get like some sort of high profile match. Maybe they do something like Sammy Guevara versus Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah, that'll be quite good. I imagine they might do that because they'll be young against the old guard and stuff. I want to quickly mention before we go on to the other bits that happen on this show. This is probably the best commentary they've had on AEW. I feel like they're getting into their stride now as a 3-man team. Yeah,
they are really clicking, and they're getting a lot of fun out of it. As you can tell that they're all really enjoying doing this.
Yeah, it doesn't sound as that's one of those things. I'm getting used to it because it doesn't sound as like I don't want to say robotic because I still don't mind WWE commentary. Like I don't mind. I'm one of the few people that don't actually mind Michael Cole on commentary. He's not that bad, but it's their commentary is very. We need to get this out, very corporate, very public address system. Whereas AEW is a bit more natural, and they kind of laugh and joke. JR's not making as many random asides. He's kind of just sticking to it. Excalibur's basically doing all the legwork, which is great, and Tony's kind of filling the gaps. Whereas Jim Ross has almost become like in football, the ex-pro analyst there.
Yeah,
which is great.
What I like is that they've developed their chemistry, and it's more of a conversation they have about what's going on, where sometimes with like commentators in any sport, it's very formulaic and there's not any body to what they're talking about. They're just discussing like what's going on in front of them very analytically, whereas it can be quite hard to relate to that. Because I think they do a really good thing.
My thing is, with WWE commentary, good WWE commentary should sound like Olympic gymnastics commentary. It sounds weird, but there are a lot of similarities between the two, whereas you need to get the moves over, but then also get the narrative over of what you're seeing, which you have to do in Olympic gymnastics. And they do it on Mae Young Classic, and they do it very well on NXT. Raw and SmackDown's hit and miss. With this is very much more like a sports presentation, so it needs to be a lot more like football commentary. And this is actually probably less football, more NFL style commentary, which I really, really like with the stats and stuff. So it works really, really well.
Yeah. We've not had Alex Marvez on the comms team at all for these 4 weeks.
Good, because he was shit.
He's done some backstage stuff. But
he's shite. That's why I don't want him on there.
That they brought in, they haven't used. So
yeah, but I imagine
that's a really good sign as well.
And what was it? I was mentioning because I wasn't on it last week. I didn't mention when someone hit a Vader bomb. And Excalibur called it a Vader bomb, and Tony was like, "Oh, they called it a Vader bomb now. That's really cool." And I was like, "Bless Granddad Tony not knowing it's called a Vader bomb now," which is brilliant. I love that.
He's been doing his baseball for years.
But I love about that. But then he knows about Stardom, which is like, I love he's got the weird back and forth.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought they'd honestly forgot about it, but don't worry, because Wardlow is coming.
Yeah, he's coming, I guess.
He's on his way. The thing is, I keep seeing this now. All I think of is Gabbo from The Simpsons.
Oh, God, yeah.
Wardlow! We had Kenny Omega over Joey Janela in a really good match, and it wasn't. They had an unsanctioned match 2 weeks ago, and apparently it was really, really good. And these guys had a straight wrestling match, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was brilliant. This match was actually one of the reasons why I preferred this over. Well, this match, like I thought the matches were just all great on this show.
Yeah. It's never not great to see Chuck Taylor just marking out about his own entrance video.
he was so happy about it, wasn't he?
I feel they've changed their theme as well.
Like, oh my god, look at it's dogs in our video and aliens. It's like all the shit we used to talk about on High Spots.
It's I feel like they've changed their song a little bit because it's not as brr, 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 brr. I feel it's a bit more. They're taking bits out of it.
Best friends.
Orange Cassidy was just there, therefore he was brilliant.
In all fairness, I have no idea how the Young Bucks even managed to start the match after the brutality.
Oh no, the brutal super kicks they took. Not selling, this disgrace.
No wonder, like Orange Cassidy really has matches.
I know, he's too dangerous in the ring.
He's the true lethal weapon.
The Young Bucks beat the Best Friends in a really good match, but I think it's one of those things of like, the Young Bucks have lost more than they've won in AEW, but I just feel like they're
the Best Friends.
The Best Friends rather have won more than they've lost more than they've won in AEW. But I don't think it matters with them because I feel like they're just going to get over regardless.
Yeah. Like, the more promo time they get, they will get over.
And the fact they've just got Orange Cassidy there as well is just worth it. The Bucks then accept Santana and Ortiz's challenge for Full Gear, which will be great. I don't think I've seen that match before, so I'm intrigued by that one. We got Britt Baker's return to Britsburg as she went over Jamie Hayter. This made perfect sense as well. I forgot, obviously, Jamie Hayter's B's tag partner in Stardom. So
yeah, well, the tag tournament is currently going on as well, so it just made perfect sense to have B's partner, like literal partner at the moment, go out and wrestle Britt Baker.
Yeah, Jamie Hayter, I've never seen her before. She's really good, really good.
Yeah, like I'd never seen her. I was like, I'm quite glad I get to see us on a big stage as well. And she didn't disappoint. She's like her character works really good.
I'm gonna throw a comparison.
She knows where she is.
I'm gonna throw a comparison at you for Jamie Hayter and see if you agree. She reminds me very much of Paige.
Yeah,
very similar to heel Paige on the Indies. I'm a big fan. Then Brandy Rose attacks Jamie Hayter backstage with some angry pointing. I feel like we both know where we stand on this one. It might be the first week that it's kind of a draw because I feel like I think the last few weeks they've both agreed on one show over the other. But give us your reasons why you think AEW was the better show this week.
I like they had a narrative through the story. They used they covered up Hager not being there. Even though he's away with Bellator, so obviously he couldn't be at the show. But they used that to their advantage. They still had the Inner Circle on the show in a very prominent moment. Established, progressed this. The storyline involving them with Cody and Dustin and everybody linked in with him. Both tag matches were great in the tournament. Well, all three tag matches were great. It just all clicked. Like nothing seemed out of place. This was a really enjoyable show to watch. It was watching our fight was over 2 hours, so it was 30 minutes longer, and it felt shorter than when I watched NXT, which had no ad breaks in as well.
That's really interesting because my reasons for liking NXT over AEW are the same reasons, but obviously reversed. I felt that AEW dragged on a little bit. The main event was the opening match was tremendous. I got so bored during SCU and Dark Order, mainly because the crowd weren't invested because of the Inner Circle stuff. The brawl was great. There were some great matches, but for some reason I just couldn't get into a flow of it. Whereas for me, for NXT, was just bang, 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 big match, big match, big match, big segment, and then obviously typified with the title match, and then the big swerve at the end. Like again, we said this before. This is not saying that AEW or NXT was bad. They were both great, but I'm imagining in your eyes, just while NXT was great, AEW was greater, and in my eyes, NXT was greater, and AEW was just great. It's not as if I can say that.
Also, I was watching these shows, watching NXT, and it did make me think. I was thinking about which one I preferred and what have you, and I was like, imagine being a wrestling fan that complained that there was too much wrestling on a Wednesday night.
I know, it's like, it's brilliant. I'm loving life right now. Like, on a Wednesday being like, well, you know what I get to do? I get to get up on a Thursday and either sit at home or watch on whatever device I can possibly imagine. Oh, I get to watch 2 hours of some of the best wrestlers on the planet wrestling a brand new show that's growing before our very eyes. And then also, oh yeah, I'm just going to go watch the show that we all loved from a few years ago that's still doing great and is now on TV and has bucked the trend that WWE have of giving show another hour and it getting worse, where in reality, they've given NXT another hour and it's got better. And it's fantastic. It's just brilliant. Well, I'm like a dog with several dicks. It's brilliant scenes.
One of the other little things that it's not really like a little thing, I guess. It really made a difference to me when watching it was NXT. AEW's got all the bells and whistles and everything. It's got the big arena. Everything fits a big time show. Whereas you watch NXT, and as much as it's got like far more technology and far more greater like bits to it, it still is in Full Sail and still doesn't give you a big show feel. And like that, it just reminds me of, it's like you've got like a full on like beautiful car that's all high spec, but then you've got a shitty car which somebody's done loads of work to, but it's still a shitty car.
I think for me, I like the fact that they're still in the place. It's just it gives that atmosphere. The atmosphere is great. You get to see, like you said, with the shot with Finn Balor, where you get to see the whole crowd. You don't get that in AEW. And also, they don't run the risk of having some awkward shots where you can see whole sections of the arena didn't have any seats. Not a dig at AEW, not a dig at all, because it's hard to sell out arenas on a weekly basis. But when you're a new show, you want to kind of accentuate the positives and hide the negatives, as you mentioned previously. But yeah, those were our thoughts on the Wednesday night was. I actually want to add one caveat. I said I was bored during SCU versus Dark Order. Bored's a bit of a harsh word. I just kind of lost interest, especially when the crowd lost interest. So I digress. If you want to get in touch with us, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at TWM Wrestle. You can subscribe to us on Google and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Acast, TuneIn, Podbean, YouTube, and wherever else you get your pods. On TWM.news right now, you can go check out George Gill's article. He might not be here, but he's written an article a month on who is winning the war between NXT and AEW, so definitely you can go check that out. We've got some stuff on Impact Wrestling, the Independent, British Independent, little stuff on Stardom, Progress, Fight Club Pro, WWE, NXT, AEW, all that stuff. It is the only place you need to go for your wrestling content, be it news, reviews, interviews, or opinions, all up at twm.news. Mike, social media.
How about give me yours?
But what, you're gonna what you want to say mine instead?
No. Right. So normally I give Tony Deppen a shout out, but go follow Kyle Fletcher Pro. It sucks for him. Mark Davis got injured recently. If you don't know about Aussie Open, a brilliant tag team in the UK. He was supposed to have. They were more or less supposed to definitely be in World Tag League for New Japan at the end of this year. Mark Davis has blown his knee out. They're no longer in it. Kyle's got lots of open dates. You know, go give him a follow. Tell local promoters about him. Get him booked in the UK. Get him booked anywhere.
AEW, book him.
If only.
If you're listening, Cody.
Yeah, go and do something nice. Hey, if you like his merch, go and buy him. Go and buy his merch. And if you get the reference, ask him. And you see him at a merch table, ask him if he's got any grapes. Also, I'm going to give a shout out to Dongzilla because he's doing loads of art stuff during his time off. So go do that so he can earn some money during his time off with injury. I'm a Matty ID. This is TWM Wrestle, TWM Podcast. And it'll be back to normal next week. You have George and Josh here for the Wednesday Night Wars. We'll be back to normal. We'll be back on the Indie Wrestling Show in our little hole of the Independents next Wednesday. But thank you for listening. And Josh and George will speak to you guys. You know what? We don't do this often anymore. We don't do it on the Indie Wrestling Show anymore. Because we're covering, screw it. Let's end the way we used to normally end the podcast. You'll hear George and Josh next week. So, until you hear from them next week, from me and Mike... Shield! Throwback ting.